Since 95% mortgages vanished, first-time buyers have had a tough time getting a mortgage. Just before COVID, there were loads of options for buyers who had a smaller deposit. So to see the government bring back a new guaranteed scheme definitely brings back some hope for those people. Hi there, my name's Keith and I'm a mortgage and protection advisor here at Hello Mortgage. Since 2020, 75% mortgages became the norm, but we did see that steadily increase to 80 and 85. Sadly though, that's not the case for the self-employed, who still seem to have this restriction of 75% LTV, but that's something I'll cover in another video. So to get to the point of this video is to tell you about the new government guaranteed scheme. There's not a lot of information available at the moment, but from what we do know, it would appear that it's open to first-time buyers as well as home movers. You don't have to buy a new build, you can also buy a resale, as long as the property value doesn't exceed 600,000. It must, however, be your main residence, so you can't use this scheme to get a buy-to-let property, an investment property, second home, holiday let. It definitely has to be for the home that you're going to live in. You can only use the scheme on a capital repayment mortgage. Why you would want to take an interest-only mortgage on your main residence though is a different question, but to access this scheme, you have to do it on capital repayment. The scheme will launch on the 1st of April, I'm hoping that's not going to be a joke, and is going to run until around about December 2022. Now this one's a little quirky. You need a deposit of at least 5% to get a 95% mortgage, but under this scheme, you can also use a deposit of 9%. So that'll give you a 91% loan to value mortgage. The greater the deposit, the greater the options that'll become available to you. And I suppose the biggest question of all is you must meet the lender's standard criteria. So there's no guarantee that using this scheme will result in you getting a mortgage. So if you've got bad credit, if you're on a low income, or if the property is not quite of standard construction, the scheme won't guarantee acceptance. So one of the biggest questions we get asked is, how much can I actually borrow? So that's a tricky question, and again it's nothing really to do with this scheme, but if you head across the Hello Mortgage website, we've got a calculator section where you can pop in your total gross income and it'll give you an approximation of how much you could actually loan. There's also other options on the website there. I suppose the main one for you guys will be the one that says I want a mortgage. If you click that, you can start your journey online. I suppose another thing to keep in mind here is that not every lender has said that they're going to offer this scheme, but there's a couple of big names in there, so most of the high street is on it. Another thing I wanted to touch on this video is really the part that nobody actually wants to talk about, and it's the risk associated with taking a 95% mortgage. So with a 95% mortgage, you have a very small element of capital. You have 5%. So that means should the property prices drop or should something out there happen to the market, your chances of ending up in negative equity are much greater than somebody who has a higher deposit and a lower LTV. So there are risks associated with this. So yes, it's great. Yes, it's excellent. You know, you've managed to save your $5,000 and you're ready to get your property. But I would always say where you can, always try to save that a little bit more deposit. Another thing to keep in mind with high LTV mortgage is there's not actually that many products available. So the way that you should look at it is the higher the LTV, the higher the mortgage you take, the more it's going to cost you. So lenders tend to weight mortgages on risk. So someone taking a really high LTV mortgage is riskier than someone who's put in, the 10 to 15%. So mortgages tend to be priced higher in this bracket. Another thing to think about is the more deposit you have, the more options you will have. The mortgage market is an absolute minefield of criteria. That's why it's really important that you should use a mortgage broker. Obviously, you should use Hello Mortgage. So to summarize the scheme, it's available to first-time buyers as well as home movers. You don't have to use it to buy a new build. You can buy a resale. Your property value cannot exceed 600,000 and it must be your main residence. So absolutely, it cannot be used to fund buy-to-lets, holiday homes, second properties. You must have a cash deposit of a minimum of 5% and a maximum of 9%. Good luck.